massive report just dropped from Shams The Athletic that indicates young rising player Jonathan Kuminga is frustrated with this situation in Golden State. He's done playing for head coach Steve Kerr, and it indicates a trade could be on its way. So we're going to dive into all of that in this vid, including his teammate Moses Moody also being frustrated with everything going on in Golden State, and the Raptors being linked to this team and potential trade rumors a lot over the past year, even dating back to the year Jonathan Kuminga was drafted, his interest in those players. So we're going to talk about all of that, discuss what type of deal could potentially make sense if the Raptors were looking to still make some shakeups after that big OG Anunoby trade. And I'm stating it here before we talk about anything else, I do not want to trade away Pascal Siakam for a package that is just centered around Jonathan Kuminga. This is not what this video is going to be about, because even though some people are still in the hive of trade Pascal, the money doesn't really make sense in keeping RJ quickly. Scotty Barnes' big contract coming up. Pirtle's under contract with that big deal, right? There's a lot of spending that has to be made on this Toronto Raptors team if we keep Pascal Siakam. I don't care. I would be very, very frustrated if we make a package that is just centered around Jonathan Kuminga, who, again, has a lot of potential in this NBA, but is not a guy that has shown any guaranteed steps that he even can become close to the player Pascal Siakam. So I'm writing that off here at the beginning of this video before we talk about any reports. Also, over 55% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so it would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that sub button if you're enjoying the daily Toronto Raptors coverage. But let's dive into this report that went down from Shams The Athletic, basically saying that after sitting the final 18 minutes of the Nuggets loss yesterday, Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr and no longer believes that Kerr will allow him to reach his full potential. So he is frustrated, and this is something that has come out in bits and pieces, minor reports from Golden State Warriors beat reporters, heck, even from the mainstream guys, about Jonathan Kuminga not being too happy with the situation in Golden State, specifically coming off the bench and things along those lines. But hey, starting off this season, especially with Draymond Green, maybe not starting off, but when he took that swing at Yusuf Nurkic, Kuminga's been given a much bigger role for this Golden State Warriors team. So a lot of people pointing to, hey, maybe they are transitioning to Kuminga, letting him get unlocked, playing around Steph Curry more so in that starting lineup. Things could work out for Kuminga, so those frustrations might dissipate. But clearly from this report, this has not been the case. And it's not just Kuminga either, as well as Moses Moody's camp is frustrated with his role on Golden State. People around Moses are frustrated with the lack of a role and consistency. So there's something going on here with Golden State, and this offseason, obviously, they traded away Jordan Poole to acquire Chris Paul because, they're preaching of the two timelines sort of approach, old guys and young guys, especially with Jordan Poole following that punch from Draymond Green, was not really meshing that well. There was two camps between the two groups, and the younger players weren't really fulfilling their potential. Even though Jordan Poole was given that max contract, he wasn't really living up to the sort of money he was making there, at least on Golden State. And then also guys like Moody, like Kuminga, like James Wiseman, before he ended up getting dealt from the Detroit Pistons in that weird deal. None of those guys really took the leap to really help that Golden State Warriors team take that jump. So then they acquired Chris Paul, and now more young guys are frustrated on this team because they're not getting the roles, they're not getting the opportunities. They feel like they're not getting put into the right positions in order to blossom with their current group around Steve Kerr. So what does this have to do with the Toronto Raptors? The Golden State Warriors, again, they're just a team. These are a couple of role players for this squad. Why should we care? Well, if anyone's been keeping up to date with I know a lot of people have tuned out the Toronto Raptors over the past couple of years, given how, mid-level this team has been, but the rumor mill has circulated that the Raptors were trying to trade for Jonathan Kuminga at multiple points, dating back to the old Pascal rumors and the trade deadline or the NBA draft when they ended up getting drafted. But basically, we didn't even look to a report last February. The Raptors wanted a package for OG Anunoby built around, the Raptors wanted a package from the Golden State Warriors for OG Anunoby built around Jonathan Kuminga, and this is coming from HoopSite, and this was talked about from Shams and these types of guys. So, Kuminga has been a target of the Toronto Raptors for a long time. Now, seeing him get frustrated, seeing him be a player that is likely to get traded, given this report coming out from not just a regular beat report, but from Shams, indicates a deal could actually potentially go down. Now, especially following the OG Anunoby trade and Pascal Siakam rumors were really exploding. Now, after the Raptors' most recent 2 wins, those seem to have died off just a little bit because we know Masai Ujiri is evaluating this team. I'm sure if the Raptors lose some more games, those rumors will start to percolate once more. But Basically, Jonathan Kuminga was a guy people were saying, hey, let's send Siakam to Golden State and get back Kuminga, Moody, and these types of guys with some draft picks. And it fits sort of the asking price we've been hearing from Masai Ujiri in terms of what he wants back. 2 usable rotation pieces along with draft picks. And Moody, Kuminga, and draft picks seems to be something that could fit those lines, even though you'd want some. It's not an Emmanuel Quickly nor an RJ Barrett sort of package that we got for OG. But personally, I want something better. I want a brighter prize, a bigger trophy if we're dealing away Pascal Siakam than a Kuminga and a Moody, even though I think both of those players do have some potential. But let's dive deeper into what these players actually are. So obviously Raptors fans probably aren't watching too many Golden State games this year, but Kuminga's averaging 13 points per game, 4 rebounds, 1.4 assists. His 3-point percentage is still not the greatest at 28%, but he's effective around the rim. He's very athletic, 6'8", and only 21 years old. So a lot of potential to potentially blossom, whatever team he ends up going to. So, he could be an interesting piece. Definitely a guy that I would be very happy if the Raptors acquired, but for the right price. And if you look at his shooting splits, because that's the biggest concern. I know that's one of the bigger concerns for Raptors fans right now after acquiring RJ Barrett, keeping Jakob Poeltl on this team, and how bad we have been from shooting the basketball. Again, Kuminga's not a guy that's an elite 3-point shooter. Only 26% of his attempts are from behind the 3-point line. He's only making 28% of them. Has shot it at a better rate in previous seasons, but again, not at the highest of volumes. But he's a guy that is very solid shooting from the corners, right? He's a guy 41% from the corner last season, 35% this year. But the thing about it is, a lot of his shots, especially this season, are not coming from the corners. And this is something that kind of fits in him not getting his maximized potential. Kuminga's unlikely to be a guy that is, taking that leap as a guy that comes into the league and becomes an elite jump shooter. I don't project that a lot from Jonathan Kuminga. Now, some people may have said that from Scotty Barnes. He's now close to a 40% 3-point shooter on a very high rate. So, it's not something to completely write off. But Kuminga, like Pascal Siakam, is better apt to sort of hit those set spot-up shots to where he's not Ben Simmons, where you can leave him out there on an island. But he's not a guy that you want creating his own 3-point shot and stuff. And those, from the numbers as we just saw, he's getting less corner threes, less shots assisted upon. Those are the shots he's getting more so this season. So, again, he's not getting put in the right position. Maybe with the Toronto Raptors, if they get him in the right spots, especially now with Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, more creators on this team, it could definitely work. And obviously Scotty Barnes, who we know is able to hit some open shooters. Kuminga could get unlocked in terms of his jump shooting. He's an elite athlete. He can finish around the basket. And when he's locked in, talking to Golden State Warriors fans, they seem to regard him as a pretty solid defender. So Kuminga is a piece that I would be intrigued in getting. But at what price? Not Pascal Siakam. One name that I've seen, I threw it out there on Twitter, got a response. I should start shouting out people on getting back on the Twitter game, as I mentioned in the video earlier. The dopamine hits are coming back from when I was younger. Raptors Died just started off as a Twitter page, or X.com page, I guess now it would be called. So getting back to our roots with that here now at this point. Trying to get Scotty Barnes some more votes drummed up. But basically, when we made a post regarding this Kuminga news, someone reacted saying Gary Trent Jr. could be an interesting centerpiece. But while I think that could be cool, I don't know if that's the perfect fit in terms of a trade. For one, Golden State, they have some interesting pieces right now. Obviously, they have Kerr as Steph Curry. They have Klay Thompson. They have Chris Paul sort of at that guard position who needs the ball in their hands. They have a young sort of rookie that has the ball in his hands a lot, can space the floor, feels similar to what Gary Trent Jr. would provide. And Gary's not been the most valuable piece off the bench of the Toronto Raptors this year. So I don't know what his trade value could actually net you. Now, if Kuminga's trade value does plummet, given the fact that he's requesting a trade and his frustration and things like that, maybe we could get Kuminga back to the Toronto Raptors. But again, in theory, Gary Trent Jr. probably fits this team a little bit better, even though we lost some forward depth, giving away OG Anunoby for 2 guards. Gary Trent Jr. provides floor spacing. Now, if Grady Dick, his workout plan in the G League ends up working out well, and he's knocking down his threes in 2 weeks from now, he's sort of ready to go, bounce back in the NBA, then maybe that could step in. Grady Dick could step in for the floor spacing. Kuminga could be there at the backup 4 to sort of, be a spark plug off the bench for one of our bigs. That could be an interesting return for Gary Trent Jr. package. And then, you can also factor in Moses Moody if you wanted, make a multi-team or multiplayer deal or something like that. Again, Moody is a guy I'm less intrigued by than a Jonathan Kuminga just off the physical attributes. He's still a player that has hit some 3-point shots over the course of his career, but 36% from last year from behind the 3-point line, but is not getting utilized in the right way there with Golden State. Similar stuff can be said about Moses Moody. Just looking at the stats here, the corner threes are a similar percentage. He's hitting them at a lot lesser rate, though, in terms of percentages, even though he's shooting more. So, maybe either of these guys, again, extremely young, have potential shooting the basketball, are both solid athletes. Moody is a player that I've seen Golden State Warriors fans call a very solid defender, an underrated defender. So maybe either of these players could be interesting pieces if they are frustrated. Again, the Toronto Raptors have been apparently in the rumors and the sort of report mills with the Golden State Warriors about potential trades in the past. So we'll see if something could actually go down. But I'm pretty adamant I don't want to see Pascal Siakam ended up getting traded for a package such as this. But maybe a Gary deal, maybe one of these weird packages could potentially work out. Maybe if the value plummets all the way to the ground, we can't. I was about to say Malachi Flynn, some random deal like that, but I don't even know who we have on the deep bench now who'll get thrown out of trade rumors. But let me know what you guys think. Throw your trade packages in the comment section down below. But you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.